Mark, so good to have you. So good to have you here
Th-
again.
Thank
I,
you so much, and it's such a pleasure and honor to be here with you, Dris.
I can't remember when was the last time we spoke. I think it was when you took care of me when I had my bulging disc. Uh,
That,
yeah, I took some sessions with you, and that was great. I keep on telling that story to people, by the way.
oh, do you? Do you? So it lives on. Nice,
You
nice.
know why? Because I had that issue with my lower back, and
Yep.
I went to physiotherapists, chiropractors. I even had somebody telling me that I needed to do a surgery, and then I met you. I remember we were having lunch at Koi in Batubolo.
Yes, yes. I miss that place. I love that place.
They had such a good food there, right?
Yeah.
And then we talked about the issue and the problem, and he told me, "Man, come on, look at my I have bulging disc." You told me you have discs that were empty or
Yeah.
something, and you were still
Yeah.
fit
Yeah.
and very mobile and active.
Mm.
I was like, I want to have that too. I want to be mobile also. So what is it that I'm doing wrong? Then we took those sessions,
Yeah.
and it just changed my life. In
Oh,
literally, because I have been doing those routines that you taught me for I guess until now. I'm still doing the same stretches. I'm still doing the same
nice.
exercises, working on my
That's so good
core.
to hear. Yeah.
I'm using the trigger point balls in my
Yep.
glutes, in the front
Yeah.
of my
Good.
hips, and fully mobile and active again. No surgery, no physiotherapy,
Oh
no
wow.
chiropractor, no nothing. That was good.
Yeah, that's music to my ears, and that makes my heart melt. Yeah, I love it. I love it whenever whenever I get to work with clients like yourself, and they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and so many doctors are telling them they need surgery and they got to go under the knife and they got to do this and they got to do that. When in all actuality, that's not necessarily the case for a lot of people.
Mm,
It's finding somebody that can do the right assessments to see exactly what's going on, and
mm,
then start at the base and work from the base
mm.
up. And that's kind of what we did. We did some assessments. We were seeing what's going on. We did a lot of trigger point, a lot of release, a lot of self-myofascial release, and then we built that solid foundation, and we got that core nice and strong, and then we built from there. So it's good to
Mm,
hear a good
mm.
success story like
And I was transferring that to people. So people tell me their back is hurting. I tell them, well, you know what? Here's the story. Use this ball.
that.
Use these
Nice,
exercises.
nice.
And
Yeah,
if you need
yeah.
more, call this guy.
Mm. I
Okay,
appreciate that. Thank you.
so how are you doing? And where are you? Thailand, obviously, but where specifically?
Okay, I am first. I am doing absolutely amazing.
Hmm.
I know that we're like the whole world's going through some trying times. But me personally, I have lived the majority of my adulthood in the unknown, and I thrive in the unknown. And we'll get into a little bit of my background and some of the things that that I've been through. Um, so right now, like I'm in a good position. I'm in a good position because I've been here so many times. I've been comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm in Phuket, Thailand. I live, I would say, maybe about like 10 minutes away from the airport. I've just been hired about 3 months ago full time to work at a resort called Tenyapura, which
Hmm.
is pretty much the largest and leading health and fitness resort in all of Southeast Asia. This place is amazing. Now, currently, we're shut down because of the coronavirus, and hopefully things will reopen soon. But with a little bit of the downtime, I've been taking advantage of it. A lot of online clients. There's courses that I've bought years ago that now I finally have the opportunity to do and educate myself. I've been doing a lot of meditation, going within, getting in nature, nature walks, earthing, just yeah, really connecting with myself and using the time wisely. So right now is it's as good as ever.
And they hired you as a performance coach, right? Or what's the title? How do you call yourself, or how do you introduce yourself
Yeah.
to people?
So a fitness performance specialist is the official title.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
so you have been given that and teaching people before Tanyapura, right? I see that in your t-shirt there, Tanyapura. You've been
Yeah.
doing that for a while, right?
I have. I've been in we'll say the health and fitness industry for the last 10 years. And I also, I work with several different brands as a master instructor. So for quite some time, for quite a few years, I've traveled all through Southeast Asia, actually all over the world, delivering certification courses, presenting at conferences, and just working and spreading the seeds and helping as many people as I possibly can.
Nice. So when we met in Bali, that was 5 years ago, I believe you were doing some of that.
That's
So
correct. Yeah.
you were based in Bali half a year, I believe, or something like that, and then Thailand. But have you been practicing that somewhere else, like other countries?
Yeah. I mean, I've traveled all throughout Indonesia, Thailand. I've been to Australia. Yeah, just all over. Yeah, certifying and helping and presenting.
If we want to rewind a little bit, going even back to before that, what were you up to?
Prior to the health and fitness industry.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Just to
All
give the
right. So
people
I'll
a little bit of a background and where you come from and so on. Yeah.
For sure. So I'm gonna rewind quite a bit. Yeah.
Yes, please. Chapter 1.
Okay. So all right. Sounds good. So I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the U.S. And so as I was growing up, I grew up with martial arts. So I started karate whenever I was 4 years old. I took that for like 9 years. Then I got into wrestling, and I wrestled for about 7 years, all through elementary school, middle school, high school. So I was always like into sports and very, very athletic. But however, though, when I was in my high school years, I was a heathen child. So I was always in trouble and fighting, and I was your typical jock, so I realized, kind of my senior year, that I was going down a bad path, and that I needed to take a turn in my life, because if I didn't, I was going to wind up probably in jail or dead, or doing something that I didn't want to do. So I always had I guess the passion to travel. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to challenge myself physically, mentally. And so I started thinking about the military, and I was like, if I go into the military, what branch do I want to go into? And then I thought about the Air Force, and I said, I don't want to fly planes. And I thought about the Navy, and I was like, man, the Navy's not my thing. And then I thought about the Army, and I was like, the Army's too big. And I remember I walked into the recruiter office for the United States Marine Corps. And as soon as I walked in, I saw this recruiter. He had on his dress blues, and man, he was like buff and in shape, and he just, I just remember looking at him, and I was like, man, like just really, really impressed. And I was like, yes, tell me more. Tell me what it's like to be a United States Marine. And then, man, after the first couple hours of talking to him, I was hooked, and I said, you know what? I'm going to join the Marine Corps. I'm going to travel. I'm going to challenge myself, and this is what I'm going to do. And that's what I did. I ended up enlisting into the Marine Corps, and then I ended up getting into a security unit. And so basically, we provided force protection and anti-terrorism security measures in support of U.S. strategic interests in the Persian Gulf. So I spent about 3.5 years in Bahrain, Afghanistan, Kuwait, all over the Persian Gulf, traveling, protecting people and foreign dignitaries, and keeping people safe. So I ended up getting out of the Marine Corps, and I achieved a lot whenever I was in, but a lot of that stuff was physical, but yet mental. But I kind of wanted to delve into the educational side, because like I said, when I was in high school, I was definitely not into studying in the education. So I decided that.
If we can, sorry to interrupt, if we can just stay a little longer in the childhood part there. You were playing sports and all that, and did you have models back then? Who were you looking up to? Who were you?
Yeah, who was I looking up to? Because of the martial arts, I think definitely like Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris. Those were definitely some people that I looked up to. really looked up to my mom, my dad. I had good role models. I really can't say that I had like a superhero or somebody that I really said, that's exactly how I want to be like. Yeah.
And did you know back then what you wanted to be? Like, did you had a projection? Okay, I'm gonna grow up and become X and Y and Z or something, or wasn't there?
Yeah, well, yeah, I would say like as I was growing up, I knew I wanted to do something, I guess like physical. And when I was in high school and I was getting ready to graduate, and I said I was going to go to the Marine Corps, I was like, man, I'm going to go into the Marine Corps and I'm going to learn how to shoot guns, and then I'm going to get out and I'm going to go on a SWAT team and I'm going to join the police force. And that was kind of like my thing was, I wanted to be on a SWAT team. I wanted to help people and I wanted to save lives. That was, yeah, it was probably the occupation that, I kind of looked into the most whenever I was younger.
I can see that this is still the case. You want to help people and get them
Yes,
healthy.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. And then after I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to college, and I have a degree in criminal justice with a concentration in private security. And then whenever I got my degree, I sat there and I thought to myself, I have the 4 years of the military experience. I have the degree, so I want to go into the government. I want to go Secret Service, and I want to protect the President of the United States. And I had a really good professor whenever I was in college, who was a former senior special agent with the Secret Service. He said, Mark, what do you think about going private sector and doing security work in the private sector? And I said, nah, I want to go Secret Service. And he said, just look into the private sector, throw out some applications, and what do you got to lose? So right before I graduated, I stumbled upon a company, and it's pretty much the nation's leading executive protection firm in the U.S. called Gavin DeBecker and Associates. And they required that you did a video interview. You had to send in your resume and application and yada, yada, yada. So kind of for shits and giggles, I put all that stuff together and I sent it off. And then a couple of weeks later, they invited me for an interview. So I flew all the way to California, to Los Angeles, went through the interview process, and they narrowed it down from I think it was 10,000 people all the way down to 100 people that they invited for the interviews in the process of the screening. So long story short, I made it through all that stuff, and I got back, and they sent me an offer, and I liked the offer, and I said, here's a great opportunity. And so I packed up everything. I had a house in Pennsylvania. I sold that, and then I drove cross country, and I started the executive protection career. And I was assigned to a multi-billion-dollar family. And then kind of when I started off in the protective industry, I was what they call an SSA, a security staff agent. So I was pretty much like the hands-on guy with the clients, doing all the protective work and things like that. And then I worked myself up to the assistant detail leader. And then after a couple of years, I was the detail leader. So I was managing a 10-man protective team for this family. And literally I spent 9 months out of the year living out of a suitcase, traveling the world, and protecting this family.
Wow, excellent. So what was the pivoting moments after that? You mentioned a couple of pivoting moments from in the story, but when was the next one then?
The next one, when it was shortly before that career ended, I was so burnout. I was stressed out of my mind. I was burnout. I remember having 4 different phones, one for the clients, one for the firm, one for myself, one for, the guys. And it was so overwhelming. And then going from country to country, time zone to time zone, my body didn't know when to sleep. I got addicted to sleeping pills. And I just remember thinking to myself, I was so drained, I was so stressed, and looking at myself in the mirror, and it was like I lost my identity. I became this robot. And when I was looking at myself in the mirror, I said, Mark, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? Is this why God put you on this earth? To protect his family? Or is it another calling? And then I started going deep within and asking myself those hard, deep questions. And, right away, I knew the answer. I knew the answer was no. That's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But I knew I wanted to help people. I wanted to serve. I wanted to give back. but not just for one family, for the masses and as many people as I possibly could.
I see. And then that's when you engaged into fitness, I believe.
Yeah. So I drew up all the resignation letters and I sent them all out. And then I resigned and everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, Mark, man, you're like James Bond. Like, you did all this hard work. You've been in this industry. You're making all this money. You worked your way up. Like you're crazy. What are you doing? And it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. And I blanked everybody out. And I said, hey, I'm doing what's best for me. And this isn't it. So I'm gonna get out. And whenever I got out, I mean, I was single at the time. I was making good money, so I had a lot of money saved. And I said, I'm going to transfer into the health and fitness field. Whenever I went through college, I was a personal trainer for 4 years, and I absolutely loved it, helping people. And I said, I'm going to make that turn into the health and fitness industry. And so I had two choices: is one, go back to college and get a different degree in exercise physiology. Or spend a lot of that money and seek out some of the best strength and conditioning coaches, in the industry, and travel the world and do internships and do certifications and kind of that on-job training. So that's what I decided to do. So I spent the next 2 years after I resigned, literally traveling all over the world, getting certifications, studying, and just basically learning as much as I could from the best.
And did you know what you're going to do with that? Was it clear path? Okay, this is what I'm going to be doing, or let's try it out and see where this leads to?
Well, again, I knew that I was put here to serve and to help. And we're talking about going deep within and asking those questions. I listened to my intuition. I listened to my gut. I listened to, my creator. And I knew it was to, again, to help the masses. And I just wanted to do it in a holistic fashion, mind, fitness, lifestyle. And I just knew I had to learn as much as I possibly can. So yeah, it was pretty clear. It was pretty clear.
And do you find your job right now, if you call it a job, I guess, I don't know if you will call it a job, meaningful?
Oh, it's beyond meaningful. It's my purpose. It's my purpose. It's my passion. And no, it's not a job. It's if I had all the money in the world, I would still be doing what I'm doing. Maybe I'd be able to I guess affect more people with a little bit more money, but it doesn't matter. I honestly, I love what I do, and I love the people that I help. And, very rarely does a day go by that I don't get a beautiful message, from somebody on the opposite side of the world, just thanking me and, giving me this great success story, how, they're continuing to implement the things that, I showed them whenever we were together. So yeah, I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah, you worked with some great people that I met also that spoke highly of you. Tiffany.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah. She's amazing. I love her. Love her. Yeah. She's such a great person and an amazing athlete.
Yes, she is. And very deep and
Yeah.
I had her in the podcast, also interviewed her. It was pretty
Okay.
nice.
Yeah.
So looking back now to this past 10 years doing what you've been doing right now, do you see, I want to start with challenges. Were there challenges for you in it? And how did you navigate those challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, to answer your question, there was a bazillion challenges. And I don't think we have enough time on this podcast to even delve into, some of them. But, for the majority of the last 10 years, I've been an independent contractor. So living abroad, you've got to have your work permit, you've got to have a business, you got to, do your visa runs, you got to do this, you got to do, so just jumping through all those hoops was a challenge, to begin with. And early on when I was in Thailand, I opened up a couple businesses. I made some poor decisions, got in with the wrong people, trusted the wrong people, and I lost a lot of money. To the point where, I don't know, maybe about 3-4 years ago, I had no money. Literally, I had no money. When I was in Bali, I think around the time that, I think you and I were together. I guess I've had a couple different, like, tough times in life, but that was definitely one of them, because I remember I went through a period where, like, I had nothing. I had to go to a local warung, to the owner that I knew very well, and ask him, is there any way that I can eat here for 2 weeks? And I have some money coming in about 2 weeks, and then I'll pay you, whatever the total bill is. And luckily he did that. And I just remember thinking, like, man, I might have to go back home. I might have to go back into the protective industry. And I kept saying, like, God, please, if you want me to continue to help people, like, get me through this, And then 3-4 days later, I'd get a message from somebody, hey, I'm back in town. I know I owe you, a couple $100 from previous trainings. Where you at? How can I get you the money? And then, another week later, somebody else owed me money, and then somebody else. And so yeah, there was definitely a lot of trying times, throughout the last 10 years. But I hung in there. I believed in my purpose and why I was put on this earth, and I haven't wavered. And to be honest, I've worked with, I don't know, over 60, 70,000 people from all over the world, and I'm just getting started. Like, I'm just getting started, and yeah, it's, you got to hang in there. You got to believe in your purpose and your passion, and believe that everything is going to work itself out. And it always does.
So if we want to break it down to people here, and from what you just said, like, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you here in this conversation, is because I see you as somebody that has been always focused and very consistent in what you do. And even though there was challenges, like right now, these days, there's a lot of challenges, and people are doubting themselves, doubting if they should continue whatever they're doing, like employment, self-employment, sports preparation for after the COVID-19, something like that.
Yeah.
What is the core skills or that one needs to be equipped by to be and stay consistent? So you went through challenges, but you stayed consistent and focused. You had doubts, but you stayed consistent and focused. How can we break that down to people, and what's the teaching there? What's the learning there?
Okay. Great question. So I think I have a good way to break this down, and I'm gonna break this down, and I'm gonna apply this from a physical training standpoint, and then it's gonna transfer into life, especially what we're going through now. I think I had mentioned early on that I was a master instructor for several different brands. One of those brands is TRX, suspension training.
Yes.
And so I've traveled all over the world, and I've taught a lot of courses, like certification courses. So I've worked with a lot of trainers, a lot of coaches. Now, during one of our courses, we have a little phrase in TRX during the course, and the phrase goes like this, is that conditions change, but standards remain. Conditions change, but standards remain. Okay? Now, this phrase basically stems from a military sniper unit. All right. Now, being a former United States Marine, I shot a lot of guns. I went through a lot of shooting schools, and one of them was CQB school, close quarter battle school. Now, when you're just kind of, going through a school and you're doing a shooting course, they like to set certain standards. Now, we all know that standards like a baseline, a benchmark. Now, a standard is here. You don't go below. You've got to maintain a standard, or you go above, correct? Okay. So, how does that apply to shooting? So, like, when you're first starting out, they set a standard and they put you in a very stable position. One of the most stable positions in shooting is in a prone position. Now, the standard, you got your target, and then you got that center mass. The standard is five rounds, center mass in the middle of the target, okay? Now, once you can do that consecutively and you maintain the standard, and then they change the conditions. They take the target, they move it back even further, but you still got to maintain that standard. And then once you've mastered that, they change the conditions even more. They put you up on a knee, so you're in a less stable position, but 5 round center mass. And then they have you standing up, shooting from a standing position, less stable, 5 round center mass. And then, man, they throw flashbacks, bangs at you. There's smoke going, and you got to, run and maneuver and combat glide, but you still have to maintain the standard, and that's 5 round center mass. Now, we take that example in TRX, and we apply that to training and movement, because the mind doesn't know muscle, but the mind does know movement. And I think you and I, whenever we were working together, we set a few standards, like a standard for a plank. Exactly what I was looking for. We set a standard for a pull, set a standard for a push, rotate and a lunge, and all these foundational movement patterns. And we set those standards with only body weight, so that you knew exactly what I was looking for. And then all we did was we transferred and we changed those conditions, and we took that standard and we put it to like a TRX or a sandbag or a barbell or a dumbbell. It doesn't matter, whatever the tool is, whatever the modality is, the standard always remains. Okay? So let's take that same example that I just gave you and let's apply it to life. Like right now, conditions have changed. Like we're quarantined, we're stuck inside, you can't go to your business anymore. You have to possibly, start to, create an online business, work online. The conditions have definitely changed across the board, but what are your standards? Okay. It always goes back to your standards. And that's one thing, like throughout my life is, ever since I was little, I've had specific standards for, my fitness and my health, standards for my eating regimen, standards for my mental mindset, standards for, how I perform. And so I have these specific standards, and all throughout my life, man, conditions change, like people die. I just recently lost my father, but, those standards, they don't change. You're going to get your heart broken. You're going to lose money. You're going to go bankrupt. Like these things are going to happen. That's just life. But it's those standards. We have to maintain those standards.
I have very, very strong message in there. The standards. So that's in the mind. So that's in the mind. Like it's a mental strength. It's a skill that need to be in the mind. Like what you think is actually gives you the outcomes that you want to have and the at the end. So how would someone can train that? How can someone train that focus or that have those type of standards?
Yeah, so good question. Definitely routines and habits. So like, for instance, your morning routine, getting up and being very, very consistent with what you say that you're going to do. Okay. So if you say, hey, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to go for a 2-mile run. Okay. And you get up in the morning and you see your tennis shoes, and you're like, I'm too tired. I'm not going to do it today. I'll do it tomorrow. Now, if you do that over and over, you're sending the message to your brain that, hey, you're defeated. You cannot stick to what you say you're going to do. Okay. But when you say, hey, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to go for a 2-mile run, you set your shoes out, you get up, you throw on your shorts, you put them shoes on, you get out there and you do it and you come back, and then you're sending the message to your brain, hey, I said I was going to do this. I got my ass up. I was tired. I put on my shoes. I went out there and I did it. And then you do the same thing the next day, and you do the same thing the next day. When you do it over and over and over, the brain says, hey, you say you're going to do something, you follow through with it, and you did it. And then that becomes a habit. And then that's where the momentum starts to go. Okay. And the momentum can go one of two ways. I explained to you that, we can do it the other way and not follow through, and we can go down, okay, and create that, or, we can follow through. So I think the biggest thing is being consistent with the habits that you set forth, and what you tell yourself you're going to do, man, stick with it. And it doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm going to make $1 million this year. If you want to go way up there, great. But I say start with the small things, the little things. I'm going to get up in the morning, and every morning before I have my coffee, I'm going to hydrate. I'm going to drink a big glass of water. I'm going to throw a little bit of sea salt in there, and I'm going to throw some lemon in there, and I'm going to drink that every single morning before I have my coffee. It's small, But if you do it over and over, the brain says, okay, you did this. All right, what's next? What's next? And then the more you do that, the more you create these habits, good morning routines, good evening routines, and then things throughout the day. And then boom, you're rocking and rolling.
It becomes a part of your identity to be the guy who is, or the girl that is always consistent and regular. And therefore it translates to how you do everything. How you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Exactly. Yes.
I'm curious about your own morning routine.
Yeah. Okay. So good question. And now, as you go throughout life and in time, things change and evolve. We know that, but across the board, first thing I do as soon as I get up in the morning, I never hit snooze. I'm a morning guy, so I get up pretty early. Once my circadian rhythm is set, I try to get up naturally. So I don't get up to an alarm, and naturally is usually like around, 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning. As soon as I get up, I sit on the edge of the bed, I close my eyes, and I say a prayer. And I speak to my creator, and I'm just going to go ahead and share what that prayer is. I say, God, give me the courage and strength to use the gifts that you gave me to the best of my ability to help make a positive difference in this world. And I just give thanks. That's exactly what I say every single morning. And then I try to put myself in a state of just gratitude. Like, man, I get an opportunity. Like, there's so many people that don't have the opportunity to wake up. I get the opportunity to wake up and go out there and help people. And I put myself in that state of gratitude. And then I get up, I go out, I drink a big glass of water. I put in a little bit of sea salt, lemon in there. I drink that first thing in the morning. That gets kind of the whole, the system going. I take my morning glory. As soon as I take my morning glory, I go outside. If it's a nice day and I'm in the weather here in Thailand, it's great. I sit down on the ground. And, I'm barefoot. I sit down. And so I earth. So I'm getting all those negative electrons and all the benefits, from just touching the ground and connecting, and at that time in the morning, like the sun's not even up. So I get to hear like the sounds of the jungle and the birds chirping and the frogs and everything. And it's just, it's so amazing. And then, from there, I do a little bit of breath work. So there's different types of breath work that I do. I'm not going to go into each and every one of them, but usually in the morning, it's the Wim Hof breathing method. I'm sure you've heard of that or done it before.
That every morning.
Yeah, good. So see, great minds think alike. So I usually go anywhere from like 2 to 3 rounds of the Wim Hof. After I'm done there, my body's charged, and then I go into like a 10-minute morning movement routine. Now, it's not yoga, it's not animal flow, it's not gymnastica. It's a combination of just a bunch of different things. I've been very fortunate to dabble in a lot of different, movement systems. And, I kind of came up with my own little routine that works for me. And I really listen to my body. If one side's tighter than the other, I show it a little bit more loving. So after I'm done there, and then I sit down and I go into, roughly like a 5-minute meditation, or sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's even shorter. But during that meditation, that's my time to connect, to visualize, because the mind doesn't know the difference between the reality and what you're thinking in your mind. So I like to visualize like how my day's going to go. What am I going to be doing? Spend about 5 minutes doing that. And then I get up, I go inside, I make breakfast, then I go about my day. Whatever the day is, whether it's, trainings or, 10-4 or, whatever I have in store for the day. So that's, in a nutshell, the morning routine.
Sounds fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, good.
I see my morning routines also as being the warm-up for my day. Before going for an exercise, you do warm up, right? For me, that's my warm up for the day. And if I don't do it right, or I miss a part of it, or I miss a component in it, I feel like something is not right. I didn't warm up properly, and my focus, my mood, my attitude is not right. And I've become a little bit even OCD about it. Obsessive.
I'm the same way, but once, exactly what I'm talking about, and a lot of the viewers, can probably relate. But once you get into a good morning and a good evening routine, and you do it on a regular basis, and then all of a sudden, like you said, you don't do it, and then you feel lost, like your day's just not. it's not the same. Like it doesn't flow. You're not in the, you're not in that proper mental mindset. Like it just doesn't go as it normally does. So yeah, you're right. Like it's a way to prime the body, the mind, for success throughout the day.
Right. So, surprisingly, I thought a lot of people would like to have routines and are doing routines, because recently I put on Instagram stories a question like, first I put a snippet from an audiobook that I was listening to called Stillness is the Key.
Okay.
And in that, there was a message there about routines. And a lot of people that I follow me or know me, they think I'm a little bit crazy with all my routines. I put them on the calendar, like morning routine, then this and this and that, and think it's too hectic. I told them it's not hectic for me. That's for me. Discipline and structure is great, is nice. It's freedom, actually.
Yeah.
So I put the question there after the snippet: do you like routines? Yes or no? Do you have routines? Yes or no? What is your routine, or what are your routines? And then for them to type. I had more people saying, I don't like routines, but that they like routines, sorry, they like them, but they don't have them. And a few of them said, what are their routines, and so on. But so the surprise there, or the what was intriguing, is that people like them, but they don't have them. And some told me, well, I have never been a morning person, or I have never learned to do that. It's not just for me. It's too hard to wake up early. And I advised some of my clients to, like one of them specifically that I'm thinking about here, to start early. He said he's never a morning person. He works in the nightlife kind of industry for all his life, and now he wants to make the change, but it's so hard for him.
Yeah.
I gave him a few intels there on how to get it started, but I'm curious, what will be your intel in that? What would you say to someone who says, well, I have never been a morning person, I don't know if this is really for me? What will you help do or tell them to help them change or see that from a different angle?
Great question. And yeah, I think I definitely have something that's going to help out the viewers in regards to that. Now, when I was in the military, and then especially in the executive protection field, is a lot of the times when we would be doing like movements or like recons or like advances, like in the protective industry, it was like an advance. Like, so in other words, like the clients are here and they want to go to a different island. You've always got to send somebody ahead to that different island so they can advance it. Where's the hospitals? Where's the police stations? Where's the villa? How are we going to get there? Blah, 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 blah. And so, kind of, to chime in on that, is we always had to think and begin with the end in mind. Okay. So what's the end result? So now, to develop a good morning routine, let's flip it on its head and let's begin kind of at the end. I think in order to get the good morning routine is you've got to develop a good evening routine. Okay. So if you're that night guy and I can't wake up in the morning and, it's just too hard for me. And, I get up at 11 o'clock. Well, you're probably not going to bed until 2 o'clock. You're probably, staying on your computer, staying on your phone, being absorbed by all this blue light. You're not dimming the lights. There's so many things that you're probably doing that aren't setting you up for success in the morning time. So in order to become that morning person, you have to start it in the evening. Like, i.e., if I want to go to bed at 10, it's 8 o'clock at night. I don't go on the phone. I don't go on the iPad. I don't watch, downtime. Yeah. You dim the lights. You put on a candle. You read a book the old-fashioned way. You talk to your spouse or your girlfriend. You do a little stretching, maybe a yoga, do a meditation. You need to train, and I mean, this as being a mindset coach, is you need to train the brain. Okay. So if you do those same things over and over, like, okay, for instance, you dim the lights, you put on a candle, okay, trigger. And then all of a sudden you light some incense, like say it's, lemon flavored incense. Okay. Trigger, smell, brain, trigger. And you do all these little things and you set up the trigger, and then you do this consecutively over and over and over. Next thing you know, after a month, as soon as you dim the light, you put on the candle, You light that lemon, flavored incense. The brain smells it. The brain starts to sit there and say, okay, it's time for me to start producing the melatonin so that I can put myself to sleep. And honestly, like we could do a podcast and talk for hours on just sleep alone. And I became very obsessed with sleep because I told you when I was in the protective industry, I was addicted to sleeping pills. My cortisol levels were so high, I did not know how to sleep. So I literally had to study and take courses and read books, and I had to learn and train myself to become a good sleeper. Now, boom, 10 o'clock, I'm in bed. I sleep all throughout the night, and I wake up without an alarm at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Good quality sleep. But yeah, I mean, it starts with that nighttime routine.
Yeah, definitely. I see where you're going with that, 100%. And then so, speaking of books, then, are there books that you have recommended a lot to people and that you have on top of your mind right now, top of your head, that you can recommend to people that are listening?
Yeah,
Not
great.
necessarily about sleep, but anything.
Yeah. Okay, so off the top of my head, I'm a massive fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I mean, you've probably heard of Dr. Joe. He's amazing, and he's got a really good book out. You Are the Placebo. Talking about what the mind conceives, the body achieves, man. Our thoughts are so freaking powerful. They will manifest. You think the same things over and over and over, and that reality is going to happen. That's an amazing book. Bruce Lipton, the biology of belief. Again, the power of thoughts, your beliefs. That will literally change your cells. Okay? It'll change your cells. It is what? Biology of belief. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What else? What is it? Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl. It's such a good book about being in the concentration camps, and kind of what he went through mentally, and again, the power of thought and your attitude and positivity. That's an amazing book. What else?
Something about
the power of now. The power of literally now, like staying in the present moment. I think the author of that is Edgar Toole, I believe his name is. So yeah, off the top of my head, those are some of my favorite ones.
Very good, Mark. Thank you very much for these. I have read most of them, or all of them actually. Maybe not the Viktor Frankl. I need to check that one out.
It's an amazing book. And then one more. There's a bunch of really good books by an amazing author. His name is Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I think you would really resonate with him. He's got a good book called Inspiration. And it's amazing. It's one of my favorite ones. So I highly recommend checking out those books.
Cool. Mark, a couple of more questions. How do you define success?
Okay, so yeah, good question. So to me, success is not deemed upon how much money you make. It's not deemed upon the trophies on the mantle and the medals that you have and what you accumulate. It is what is your purpose? Why were you put here? Did you find your purpose? And did you develop that purpose to the best of your ability? And here's the most important thing that defines success is, did you give it away to as many people as you possibly could while you were here on earth? And if you did that and you did it to the best of your ability and you helped as many people as you possibly could, that's ultimate success right there.
Excellent. One more, maybe not only one more, maybe two more.
Sure, throw them at me.
Where does performance come from?
Where does performance come from? Elaborate. What do you mean?
So, how do we become performant? What is performance? How do you define even performance? Just define it.
Okay, so if I had to put a definition behind performance, is the ability to seek action, to perform, the ability to get out there and put the action behind whatever it is that is your, you know, your trade, your tool, whatever it is that you're doing. So it's you know, focused, controlled action.
Focused, controlled action. Good one. Well, thank you for
Thank
that.
you. That
All
was
right.
right off the top of the cuff.
Excellent. Right. So I don't know. I think we went through most of the things that I was looking for. Checking here with you. And is there anything else that we would like to add? A message there for people among all the beautiful messages that you passed on already this morning, afternoon for you.
Yeah, yeah. Is I don't know. There's a saying that I memorized, and it's like one of my, I don't know if you want to call it a quote or saying, and I remember the first time I read it, I was like, man, that is so true, and that is so beautiful. And if there's one big message that I want to convey to the viewers, it would be this: is that in life we have a choice. And we have the choice to be a critic and to you know, criticize everybody else doing everything, and we know there's a lot of those out there. Or you have a choice to be a doer, a person, a man, of woman of action that gets out there and helps people and does what they say they're going to do. So it's a choice to be a critic or to be a doer. Now, I'm going to give you that saying, and hopefully I remember it, okay? Because you kind of threw me on the spot here, okay? is the world is full of critics. They play. Okay, wait, hold on.
Take your time.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember this off the cuff here. Is world is full of critics. Okay, here we go. The world is full of critics. They play no ball and they fight no fights. Now they make no mistakes because they attempt nothing. Now down in the arena are the doers. They make many mistakes because they try many things. Now the man or the woman that makes no mistakes lacks boldness and spirit of adventure. They are the brake on the wheel of progress. And yet it cannot be said that they make no mistakes, because their biggest freaking mistake is the fact that they try nothing, they do nothing except for criticize those that do things. So you have a choice in life, is you can be a critic or you can be a doer.
Excellent. Applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of learnings in here in this conversation, and I'll make sure the message goes there to as many people as possible.
Fantastic.
Where can people find you? Can you articulate the name of your social media, website, whatever you have out there, so people can connect with you and learn from you?
Okay, absolutely. So I think I told you at the beginning that I am based in here in Phuket, Thailand. I work for Tenyapura. So that's kind of the home base where I do a lot of, a lot of the training. And then on all my socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, it's all Coach Mariani. And then also if somebody wants to send me an email, it's just mark@coachmariani.com.
Excellent. Very good. So as I said earlier, sometimes I think about other questions. So there's one more question. And last one, hopefully for now. What do you do for fun? What's fun like for you?
Yeah, good question. So fun. People ask me, why do I train? Why am I so consistent with my training regimen? And the reason why I don't train for aesthetics. I don't train to have the six pack to go pick up the hot girl. That's never been my intention, and that's never been my goal. Now, the body that I have and the way that I look is just a byproduct of how I train. But to be honest, the number one purpose of why I train the way that I do is so that I can enjoy fun life activities. So for me, what is fun life activities? I enjoy going out into the jungle and climbing vines and trees. I love skateboarding. I enjoy surfing. I like doing slacklining, playing, moving, jumping, flipping, trampolines. Like to me, going out and being able to use this body that my creator gave me and enjoy and play and have fun. Those are the types of things that I like to do. That's what I really enjoy for fun.
Excellent, Mark. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And you know what? Hey, thank you so much for having me on. It was such a pleasure and honor to see you, speak with you, and connect with you again. And yeah, hopefully some of the messages that I had to say will help out some of your viewers.
Absolutely. Thank you.